Erev Tov, everyone. If we can sum up in one word what Avraham Avinu is looking for when he sends Eliezer to find a bride for Yitzchak, I think the word would be continuity. He looks for the fact that everything that he strove for in his own lifetime and Sarah strove for, the house that they built, it should not evaporate, but that it should continue. So he needs a mate for Yitzchak that will share in that vision and that goal. And throughout the generations of the Jewish people, continuity has been pretty much the watchword. My Rebbe used to always say that if your grandparents and your grandchildren are both proud of you, then you're pretty much all right. And therefore, that is how the Jewish people always looked at the situation. And that's the whole idea of what Eliezer is looking for in Rivka, is whether she will continue the tradition of the house of Avram and Sarah. Now Rashi points out on the Pasuk, Vayiviyeho ha'ohelo Sarah imo, he brought Rivka, Yitzchak brought Rivka into the tent of his mother. So Rashi points out that there were certain qualities to the house of Sarah that when she died, those qualities somehow were no longer visible. And when Rivka came into the house, those qualities were restored. And those were the qualities that Avram was looking for. Rashi says, Onon kosher alahor, Onon kosher va'oel. The cloud of godliness hovered over the house of Sarah. And there's a time, I mean, you walked into a Jewish home, you knew it was a Jewish home. It had a quality to it. It had a flavor to it. You walked in Thursday, Friday, you had a fragrance to it. So there was an onon. There was this atmosphere that covered the house. Now, how do you install that? No one knows. There's no magic formula. But it's a tangible thing. And without it, the continuity of the family is disrupted. Whatever it is, it's not what it was. And when the Torah says, Vayiviyeho elo Sarah imo, Rashi points out that when Rivka entered, Sarah, so to speak, was revived. It was like Sarah was in the house. The ability to bind the generations. So aside from Onan ala Oel, there also was the idea of Bracha Mitzuya Be'isa. The Isa is the dough of everyday bread. And that there was a blessing there. Chazal say that that's the derivation of the mitzvah of challah that women have. But it's more than that. It's that in what we consider the menial, everyday tasks of life, the Isa, so to speak, there has to be a bracha there too. There's an investment of holiness in that too, in the smallest of things. And that's reflected in many, many things in the home. And again, that's the continuity of Sorah continuing through Rivka. That even the dough that she kneaded and baked had a blessing in it because of the fact that really there are no small things in life. Life is usually made up of a combination of many small things that somehow became a big thing. And then Rashi points out that it was near Dolok Me'erev Shabbos L'erev Shabbos. That somehow the candle of Shabbos burned through the whole week. And the idea of that is very simple, that the whole week is Shabbos. And we really live through the Shabbatot. Shabbat is the greatest symbol of continuity in the world. And in the house of Sorah, like it was almost always, it was Shabbat. You're getting ready for Shabbat. You're cleaning up from Shabbat. It's always Shabbat going on. And the Ramban says that when we say the Yom, so if we say Yom Chamishi Shabbat, so that we're Yotzei the Schira of Shabbat. It's one of the 6 Schirot. Zochar es Yom HaShabbos L'Kadsho. So every day we count what it is to Shabbat. And the existence of Thursday is because it's 2 days before Shabbat. That's where it draws its sustenance from. That's we say l'chododi ki mekor habrocha. The bracha is not what we do during the week so that we would have on Shabbat what to eat. The bracha is that we observe the Shabbat, and that gives us all of the blessings during the week that we have. And that was a facet of the house of Sorah. That's what Chazal meant when they said that the Avos were Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kula, Ad Shelo Nitna. It was the moral lesson. It was the achievement of what mitzvahs are supposed to do for us that the house of the Avos was supposed to accomplish. And that was the problem, as we will see later, with Esav, with the wives that he brought into the house, is that they had no intention for continuity. They had no intention to keep up what Rivka had in the house. And therefore, Esav, so to speak, doesn't have a chance. Because without the continuity, without that background, then it certainly will not happen. If we look at the Jewish people today, in all of its various forms and difficulties and accomplishments, we see the importance of continuity. And that without it, the next generation is lost. You have no moorings. They have no foundation for what they want to accomplish. And therefore, they can go off in all sorts of wild directions, which only will bring disaster at the end. And we emphasize that over and over again in our tefillos, Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoseinu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Why do we start out with them? That's the continuity. I'm here because of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. If we think that the whole thing begins with us, that somehow we're the ones that are the catalyst for everything good that's going to happen. So again, that is a recipe for disaster. And that's what happened to the Jewish people in its secularization over the last 3 centuries. And that's a terrible disconnect, that it's hard to put it back together again. You see how difficult it is to put it back together again. So this lesson, this idea is basic to understanding the survival of the Jewish people. And that's why the story of the Ovos and the Imos is so important, because of the fact that we, to a great extent, build our lives and build our homes on the pattern that they set. And that we want that our house should look like the house of Torah. Yeah, we want that those who come after us should imitate us and appreciate us, and therefore want to emulate us. All of that is included in the idea that Rashi quotes here on Vayavieh Ohel Sora Imo. When Rivka came, Sora was still there, even though she was not physically alive anymore. And that's a truism throughout all of the ages and remains valid until today as well. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer Rotza Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakav Sis Yisrael L'ficha Chir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chafetz Uman Tzidko Yagdil Torah V'Yadiyah.